All right, guys, on today's episode, this is a viewer request. Somebody requested to see Ultra 9K, how to blend it, thought processes, so we're going to do that today. Roll the intro. Okay, like I said, today is going to be a blending video. I have WA644R, which is kind of just like a muddy gray metallic. I'll show you right now. So this is a 2010 Buick Lucerne. I'm gonna blend this door. Got a new fender, and then I'm gonna also do a little blend on the bumper on that other side. But this color is like the perfect candidate for this video because golds, silvers, any of these grays like this can be kind of challenging if you don't know what you're doing or you're new to this. But this video is gonna primarily focus on Ultra 9K and doing the wet on wet process that I've done a couple of videos on it so far. But even for blending, that seems to work far better. I'll teach you kind of how to stagger your blend and lose your blend in the middle of a door, because when it comes to blending stuff on flat panels, it can get kind of challenging, but that's why we'll get into staggering our blend. So yeah, I mean, without further ado, I'm gonna go mix up a little bit of sealer. I got a spray sealer on my new fender, on the bumper cover, as well as on the edge of this. That's what we're going to start with, is a little edge of sealer. So I'm going to just spray this edge so the edge of the door matches this fender that I'm about to put on, right? So you always want to start with the exact same ground color as the adjacent panel. So since I'm spraying sealer on the fender, I'm going to spray it on the door. So then when that fender gets bolted on, it all started and ended at the same place, if that makes sense. But anyway, let me go suit up. Let me get my head stuff on. I'll check you guys on the helmet, and I'm gonna talk through this one. This ain't gonna be a voiceover, so I'm gonna kind of just pause, take my time kind of explaining my thought process here, and yeah, we'll get through it. It's gonna be super simple. All right, and throughout this video, I am going to be showcasing the Scangrip Sunmatch 4 color match light. This just showed up at the shop, so I figure why not give her a go. But this thing is pretty dang sweet. Here's the feature set. I'm not gonna go through each and every feature. One of the things that I really do like about this is it's got this CCT scan function. Okay, I'm going to show you that real quick. This is the light that I was talking about. This is the Color Match 4 from Scangrip. Turn the light on. It's got this little button on the back that says CCT. You hold that down, and then it's going to sweep through the different color temperatures that this light has. Right? So when you're color matching, that's actually super handy, because that bright white light, fluorescent, and then it's going to swap all the way back to the super yellow sundown light, just like so. That function alone makes this thing pretty dang handy to use. And I will use this throughout this process to check our blend, to make sure everything looks good. And I will throw a link to this down in the description of this video if you guys would like to check these out. I know they are shaped like the Harbor Freights, like the Astros, but I promise you this is a totally different light. A lot of different feature sets. It's got various, obviously various color temperature settings, right? So you can run the gamut there. And then if you want to do a sweep of the dimness, you just press and hold, and this thing is going to dim and run through that sweep. Okay, so there's the dimmest, and then it goes up to the brightest. And it'll blink when it's at the brightest. Anyway, enough of this light. You will see this in this video. Let's go ahead and mix up some sealer and get this job started. This color, believe it or not, takes a UFX toner. If you don't know what that is, that's a color change toner. It actually takes two of them, red to gold, and I believe green to magenta. It is very transparent at first, so that was interesting to say the least. Let's start with some on here. But yeah, this is a very expensive color for a 2011 Buick. 26 PSI. I am using the Kiwami 4 sealer. I do like Iwata's for sealer. I will give them that because they atomize really nice. And this particular one I got a few years ago, and it's been rock solid ever since. I think I paid like 180 bucks. But since then they have went up in price. believe they're probably 300 now, which realistically isn't bad by any means. This thing has been my sealer gun for a long time now. But in the States, this is like a Japanese market gun. In the States, this would be like a W400. So again, we are going to spot seal here. And with Sherwin-Williams, if you are spraying Ultra 9K and you have P30 like I have in here, here's a little pro tip. This is US4 reducer, straight reducer, nothing else, just reducer. Chuck some of this in your Clearcoat gun, and instead of that rattle can blender that's always so aggressive, this, you just spray over your sealer blend, or your sealer edge, just like that. A really light coat. You don't want to go too heavy. You just need a light coat. All you're looking to do is melt this overspray, so when your base coat lands on it, it's nice and smooth. That works awesome. Okay, so to start the blend on this door, what I'm going to do is a simple, just quick pass, just on the edge of this. I'll use that reducer, melt it, we'll hit the flash cycle, and then we'll deal with the color. But typically, I'll turn my pressure down just a wee bit. I don't want my sealer to drift, so I am going to angle my gun towards the front, just like this. Just like that. I don't need a lot. See how that just kind of feathers out? That's exactly what I wanted it to do. So now we'll come back over here. I will take this reducer and I will just lightly spray a coat of this over that. And I don't know if you could tell on video, but it's just lightening that overspray up. We are going to use base coat blender as well. Some guys will say, oh, I just use base coat blender. That's fine. I find that doing this reducer trick definitely aids in just that little end that always wants to stand up and kind of change your color a little bit. This smooths that completely out. So then when I go and do my base coat blender, I'll kind of hit the edge of that a little bit. And then it's completely just level playing field. You will not see it in your base coat. So let me know if you try this. I've been doing this for years now. The biggest trick is do not wet this out. You do not need to put a lot of this on there to get the job done, so keep that in mind. So I will hit the flash cycle. I'm gonna go clean out this gun, chuck this one back in the washer, and we'll get in here, we'll do our wet on wet process. Base coat is going to go very, very quick. This whole process, that's the nice thing with 9K and doing it wet on wet like I'm going to show you is you're going to be in and out, especially on a job like this, in under 5 minutes. You'll get your coverage coats, you'll let that flash, we'll finish off our blend with a drop coat. That'll be base coat done. So I'm hoping that I can simplify this for you and just make your life easier, man. That's honestly why I make these videos and what I strive to do. Just make this easier on you, all right? So let's let this flash off. I've already got my base coat mixed because I had to make a card, but we'll get in here in just a minute, get our base coat sprayed on, and we'll see where we land. All right, this is all ready to rock and roll now. All I need to do, we'll just go ahead and do the blend, right? This is U9020, or a base coat blender, whatever you want to call it. This is literally off your 9K rack, U9020 reduced at 20%. What I'm going to do here to start this blend is I will add some base coat blender kind of in the area that I'm going to blend this color. I'm not going to go all the way to the end. I'm going to put it where I need it. Right? And I do leave this in the booth, so I do purge it for a second, like so, just in case there's any chunkies, it's going to come out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray an even coat of this, and then immediately we'll go grab the color and start our blend. I'm going to blend the color into this wet base coat blender, just so all the metallics and pearls have something to land in. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a coat of this down. Like I said, I'm not going to the end. I'm just going to stay in my area here. So now that that's nice and wet, set this up now. I will grab my DV1. This is obviously a DV1 1.4 nozzle. What cap is this? HVLP DV1 B+, okay? I'm gonna spray this at 20 PSI. And my fluid, pretty much full fluid for now. Make sure I'm vented. I am, however, going to use a little bit of air just right here. I just want to get this to start to flash so I don't sag anything, like so. Now, the question that the guy that was asking me about this had was, do you flick? How am I doing this? Do I flick? Do I pull up? I come from spraying solvent, so I like to kind of flick it out. So I like having a wet bed, because all of these motions, it's going to land in wet bed. Now here's the other part. In order to keep this blend tight, I am going to kind of angle my spray pattern this way towards this fender, right? I want as little overspray as possible to end up on this end of the blend. Also, as I mentioned, when you're dealing with a big flat panel like this, you want to stagger your blend. What that means is, instead of just doing like this, which can result in a line, you kind of want to cross coat and kind of go a little ham in different directions, right? That's just called staggering it. So hopefully you'll be able to see. I am going to do this wet on wet. So we'll go like this. Okay. Go this way, kind of go that way. And now I'm just looking to get this covered and everything started. I might have to do another coverage coat. I'm not positive yet. But we will see what that looks like. Like I had mentioned, this color doesn't cover the greatest, so that honestly will probably help us to get this to blend out. I really just need to make sure that I get coverage on this edge, and then we'll worry about what the middle of this door appears like. But so far, I don't know, like staggering your blend kind of just, you know, you just want to go in different directions. And this, I mean, it's kind of goes like that, right? It's not just a defined line, because if you just become a robot and make a really hard edge, that blend is going to be extremely noticeable. And when you do this wet on wet, I'll kind of make one pass going up, and then my second one, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I backed up just a wee bit, and I'm really focusing on A, coverage, and B, orientation. That's why I backed up, because just looking at this actually laid down very even. You do not want a bunch of blotchy crap that you need to try to control coat out. You want this to be as smooth as possible. So if this looks blotchy, once this base coat dries, I will do one final coverage coat in order to smooth all of that out. I want to have smooth to begin with, but then I will drop coat and finish off the blend. That'll just make it even more invisible and even easier to finish off. So let's go over here, and we will do these two. We'll get some base on this bumper cover. Same kind of concept. Bumper covers, I don't usually worry too much about doing base coat blender, because this bumper, if you haven't noticed, is absolutely hammered. So I'm not going to worry about base coat blender at all. I'm just going to make sure that I lay this stuff nice, wet, and even, so I have the best shot at there not being any blotchiness. Because at the end of the day, that's what I don't want, is a blotchy mess on my hands. And then sometimes I do like to cross it, so I'll go this way for this coat. Finish off. Something like that. Not that the bottom really matters, but alright. Hopefully I have enough base in here. I should be able to do all of this in one shot. And I'll tell you right now, if you can master this wet on wet technique that I'm doing, it makes all the difference in the world, man. Like your metallic orientation, everything is just easier. Like I promise you, it is far easier than doing the individual coat. It is nice to have that option, but the wet on wet just lays things down that much nicer. I really hope I have enough. I have a feeling that I'm going to run out here. I'll probably have to mix just a little bit to do my controls. Again, we'll see if this lays out blotchy at all. I'm doing another coverage coat. I'm not messing around. And again, guys, I did back up and I am hyper focusing on that orientation. Yeah, see, it's starting to spit. We're running out. Kind of skipped doing the edges the second time because I did not want to run out of base on the face. And we made it. But alright, let me allow this to flash. You can go ahead and like blow dry it with this. We could do that on this blend area just to have a gander. So far though, I think this is looking pretty goddamn beautiful. It does help that the color is very transparent, so it's not going to be a real fighter, like say something like 636R could be. Alright, so that is pretty good and dehydrated. Let's look at that with the light. And again, we're going to use the Scangrip. That wet on wet technique really does help to just lay all of this stuff down nice. Oh, do you see that? Right here. I spoke too soon, man. I caught it just a little bit. I am going to need a little bit more. So this is why I sealed this edge, however. So what this is telling me is I'm going to need one more coverage coat here, there, and on that bumper. So I am going to have to go mix up a little bit more base. Not a big deal. At least this color's blending out really nice. So let me go mix a little bit more. We'll do one nice even coverage coat. That'll resolve this. And then we'll be ready to drop coat it. Okay, remember when I said that this is a very expensive color? I'm about to show you why. So obviously these are the toners that make up every color in Ultra 9K. These two right here, UFX 1, UFX 4, green to magenta, red to gold effects. These are color shift pearls. One of these bottles is $350 our cost. And they are 3.71 fluid ounces. Absolutely disgusting. Like, I blows my mind. And they only last so long. The UFX 4 is pretty old, so it was really, really thick. So I'm gonna have to shake this a bit in order to break down that pigment and have it actually play well in this formula. So put the gun on there and we'll give her a good shake up and we'll go get our other coverage on there. All right, so now all of this base coat is flashed off. I do want to do one more coat on everything. What I'm going to do as far as this last coverage coat is I'm going to hyper focus on just making sure that this stuff lays down as evenly as possible. So I'm not going to go crazy wet. I am going to spray it kind of from a little bit more distance. Not control coat distance, but a little bit backed off. And again, I am going to stagger. Might as well run back through it one more again, just to make dang sure that we're good and covered. That should be nice. I'll do one more on all of this stuff as well. But again, just a hyper focus on trying to lay this down as evenly as I can. I will give you guys a fair warning. If you run across codes that are using 9041 and 9042 metallic, one likes to stand up and one likes to lay down. So these codes are going to give you grief sometimes. So a lot of times it's really a coverage issue. So we'll let that dry, and again I'm going to do this bumper. I did the door and the fender. I got to make sure that this is right. Not going for a super wet coat, I'm just going for that one extra coverage. But yeah, these two toners, they can fight each other. It's not always your fault if something comes out blotchy. And what I'm going to do on this card, now that I know how many coats it took over this, I'm going to do a wet on wet, dry it, do one more coverage, and then drop it. So you just want to mimic what you did on the panels. So like that. Go ahead and dry this. And then we'll do one more light coverage coat like I did on the panels, and this card should match perfectly to what we've got in here. Alright, you see it starting to flash a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that last one. Just like that. We'll allow this to dry just like all of this. And we should be in drop coat territory now. Anywho, that looks good and covered. Let's take a gander with our light here. Oh yeah, much better. Yeah, we can drop coat that. I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of this all dehydrated. I'll show you how I set this up to drop coat that. And yeah, that'll be base coat done. I know this one, I said it was gonna be real quick. This color just happened to not cover very great, so this was one of them extra coverage coats, which honestly it works out because you guys now know what to look for and how to proceed. So let me get this stuff dry and we'll drop coat all of it. All right, so let's get into drop coating now, shall we? This is one of those things that the Sherwin reps told me the totally wrong process, and I'm going to show you what I just started doing, and it works fantastic. So when I got my first certification, my painter cert for Ultra 9K, we were drop coating, and it was okay if everything wetted out, right? Like it didn't seem to affect if it was blotchy or not, but I'm telling you right now, if you treat this kind of how EnviroBase guys do, when they drop coat, they're not looking to wet out that drop coat, right? So the way I set my gun up, I wind that fluid until it stops. It's all the way full closed. I'm gonna turn this out one. On different guns, this is going to be different. The Luma 3 gun, I'll do 2 turns out. The Segola, I believe it's 1.5 or 1.25. Sada, I believe it's 1 3/4. Anyway, you're gonna have to fine tune it for yourself. But you just want a slight amount of paint to come out of this. So I'll set this particular gun 20 PSI for coverage, 12 PSI for these control coats, right? So I want it to just barely come out of the gun. Now, again, you do want to kind of stagger this drop coat, right? Like our blend already looks fantastic. I don't have any blotchiness, any goofy parts of this blend that I'm looking to fix, which was the goal. That means my color match was really nice and that this process should go fairly quick and easy. So what I'm going to do is literally just drop coat it and kind of do a cross coat, because I want to just kind of lose it in this direction and that direction and just have it not be visible at all. So hopefully you guys can see what I mean. Okay, so we'll go this way. And again, I'm trying to focus that overspray towards the front. I just don't want to take this too god-awful far. That right there is plenty, okay? So that looks beautiful to me. I'm gonna let that kind of dry and do its thing. I am, however, going to do one more coat of this on the blend area. The reason being, this base coat, anytime you have pearls and metallics kind of flying around, they love to settle down here. I will tack rag this, but a lot of times that doesn't get rid of all of it. So a coat of base coat blender on the end over the entire blend area seems to bury it. You don't have that crap standing up in your first coat of clear, so then you're not slam hammered on the second. Let's go ahead, we'll drop coat both of these. Should be fairly painless. Again, I do not want this to wet out, so I'm not going super slow. Trying not to rush it. Watching how all of this lays down. Because I'm telling you right now, if it looks blotchy in this step, it's going to look even worse when you clear coat it. And that has bitten me in the butt when I was allowing these to wet out, I would clear it and just be disgusted because it would be so blotchy. And it was so frustrating because I was trying so hard to make everything look perfect. And it was really in my coverage and drop coats. I just needed to make everything smoother. And you don't want this to wet out. And I am going to cross coat this because I did on the door. Okay. It's like a double control coat here. That looks awesome. So, now that that door has had a minute to kind of dry, I'll chuck a coat of this on the end here. Stack rag what we can. Okay. Notice we have no color at the end of this. The color literally stops right in here, so it's exactly what we want to see. And I'll just chuck a coat. I don't need to go over the entire thing, just down here. And that's my blend done, okay? And I'm aware that that seemed overly complicated, but I promise you, once you do this wet on wet process and really like get a feel for how to spray that, it's not as complicated. I have a tendency to over-explain sometimes, so I apologize for that. But just looking at this, it's exactly what you want to see. It just looks perfectly uniform, start to back, and because we sealed this edge and caught that we needed that third coat, well, we know that everything is going to match now because we just replicated it here and on those two parts. So now what I'm going to do, I do have a flash function on this booth. I'm going to just run a 10-minute flash cycle. I'll mix up some clear in the meantime. We'll get in here, we'll clear cut this, we'll see what this job looks like. And I suppose one real quick time we will check it through the different color modes. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I don't see anything goofy. I don't see any blotchiness in the side tone at all. Yeah, happy with that. So I will go mix clear and we'll finish this one up. All right, so my base coat is totally dry. I am going to use my DV1 Clear, get some clear chucked on this. That's not the point of this video, so I'm gonna skip that part. We'll jump right to this stuff being cleared and we'll check out these blends. And yeah, we'll finish up this video. Okay, like I said, I wasn't gonna waste your time with clear coating, but there is our finished blend. Thing looks nice and even, came out beautiful. Very, very, very happy with that. Also, I'll hit it with the light just to see it. Have no blotchiness, no nothing. Scan through these colors real quick. Everything came out nice. Very happy with that. I'll go show you the rest of this job. Again, this bumper has seen better days, but I mean, it came out slick for the most part. Blend came out nice, right? Somewhere over yonder, and then the new fender, nice and even. You can kind of tell that this has some kind of funky pearl going on. That's that color flip pearl I was telling you guys about. I mean, it is like a grandma gold, but it does have a little something to it, which is strange. But anyway, like I said, this was more dedicated Ultra 9K, I hope. I answered the question and kind of showed you how to do my style of blends. There's a million ways to do it. You'll probably get somebody on here that will say, oh, I do it this way, or I do it that way, and that's fine. I mean, obviously, take what I've shown you and make it work for you. You know what I mean? As far as like pressures and gun setup, if you're using something other than DV1s, you're going to kind of have to dial that in yourself. But the overall concept is still the same. Staggering your blend and kind of just going in different directions to try to trick the eye in not seeing a color difference, okay? Also with 9K, pay attention to ground colors, right? I'm sure you guys have seen my last video about that red that was extremely transparent. I recommend doing multiple cards if you have time. This was over 907, and then I made an initial card over GS 903, so white. Just to have two different variations. The white, I did just wet on wet and a drop. This one, I sprayed exactly like I did everything in here. So I hope you guys learned something from that video. If you have anything that you would like to add for a future blending video, please get in the comment section and let me know. I'm all ears. I'm not the end all be all know all by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just out here trying to get better every single day, just like you guys are, and I'm just trying to share what works for me in hopes that it does some good for you guys. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's video, consider hitting that like button, consider hitting the subscribe button. That would be really cool. Products, tools, things like that you guys see here on the channel often can be found down in the description of this video. And yeah, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.